This year, I successfully kickstarted a hardcover book and box set, all while releasing monthly tabletop role-playing game zines where I did the writing, illustrations, layout, even the fulfillment. It's been a hectic year, but I thought it'd be fun to take a look back and share some of the cool stuff I learned, and also try and encourage you to make some of your own cool stuff too. Each month on my Patreon, I make a new tabletop RPG zine. This year I made a map drawing guide, a collection of NPCs and encounters, 3 one-shot adventures, 2 mini settings, and I collaborated with some friends to make a Star Wars-inspired version of Morkborg. And the really awesome thing about my Patreon, the thing that I'm so incredibly grateful for, is that each month I can pick a topic and challenge myself to create something unique and new. So like, how do I design the best starting adventure for my new game, or the best way to make a collection of fantasy city-based encounters? Do I actually make the best adventure or the best encounters? Definitely not, but I get to spend a month tackling that challenge, and even just attempting it makes for a pretty rewarding and fulfilling creative practice. After doing all this for 3 years now, I really feel deep down that setting small creative challenges for yourself is a fantastic way to really improve at whatever creative endeavor you want to focus on. Now, maybe that's really obvious advice, but having a monthly deadline has super boosted my productivity and also forced me to finish a lot of products. Taking projects across the finish line, not just once, but over and over, has really been creatively fulfilling. I can't even explain how creatively fulfilling it's been. Now, maybe a monthly deadline doesn't seem super achievable, and that's totally okay. Make whatever deadlines feel right to you. But I've really found, whatever the deadline is, one thing I have to do to even begin to make progress on a project is to break it down into steps. Just writing down finish a monthly zine on my to-do list doesn't work at all, not helpful at all. So usually what I do is break down a task into steps, and then break those steps down into more steps, and probably do that one more time. It's not just make a zine, it's outline, write, layout, illustrate, proofread, publish the zine, and then I take those steps and break them down even further. So if you were to actually look at my to-do list at the beginning of a month, at the beginning of making a new zine, it would be something like Monday, write the zine idea and the title. Tuesday, make a list of ideas. Wednesday, outline section 1. Thursday, outline section 2, and so on and so on. I think sometime early next year, I'm going to do a whole series of videos about how I create my monthly tabletop role-playing game zines, like a step-by-step of each part, kind of like showing down the process of breaking down all these steps, because I really want to encourage more people to make this stuff. I don't think it has to be intimidating. It's like watching or listening to a good actual play, right? Once you see people playing a game, it just seems way more manageable to actually run the game yourself. Now, the other really cool thing about having an ongoing creative project is that I can really feel the progress and improvement. Like every month I can feel myself getting better, getting stronger. And that's been super evident to me in the last 2 months. I've written so much, a bunch of dungeons, one-shots, even a couple of small settings, a bunch of video scripts. I've just been constantly writing. Now, my brain is definitely a little bit fried, but I've been really surprised that the ideas haven't slowed down. In fact, they've kind of increased. The more I'm practicing writing, the more ideas are flowing, and it's just this really cool feedback loop, right? I have this huge list of stuff that I want to make. More on that in a bit, but I think the really interesting thing is that I've gotten to this place where writing actually feels comfortable. Even though I love drawing, it was always kind of a pain, but probably 15 years ago at this point, I was drawing so much at work, and then coming home and drawing comics for myself at night. It just kind of became natural, and I wasn't intimidated if I didn't know how to draw something. I just kind of knew that I could spend the time to figure it out. And when I first started making all of these RPG zines 3 years ago, writing felt like that. It felt kind of difficult. It took forever, and just the process of coming up with an idea and then writing it down and then revising it and refining it so somebody else could read it and hopefully run the thing at their table. It was just kind of a lot to wrap my brain around. And I think that after 3 years of making these zines every month, I'm finally starting to get the hang of this writing thing. Now, I wouldn't say that I'm at the point of mastery, you know, the whole 10,000 hours thing. Maybe more like I'm at the 5,000 hour comfortable stage. Probably hasn't even been 5,000 hours, honestly. You know, I'm at the 2,500 comfortable stage, right? I also really want to emphasize, I don't want that to sound intimidating or overwhelming. I don't really believe that you have to make zines for 3 years to get comfortable writing. I don't think you have to write for 2,500 hours to get comfortable at writing. I still had tons of fun writing the zines every month, and even if it felt a little more difficult at the start, as I went, it just got easier and easier. And really, I think it's all about your attitude. The big thing that changed for me this year is finally figuring out that when challenges come up, big or small, when something feels hard, I can just spend some time, maybe ask a friend or look up a YouTube video and just kind of figure it out. It doesn't have to be more complicated than that. Now, that doesn't mean that things don't get stressful or feel overwhelming, but knowing or having the confidence that I can tackle how to get an entire fantasy town onto a postcard, or when the post office changes a bunch of their requirements, or learn how to make an entire box set. You know, having that confidence, that positive attitude just makes it easier to jump into this stuff. And I should also say that jumping into this stuff definitely means I'm gonna make some mistakes. So all that stuff I just said about being a better writer, like, I just had the Dragontown book proofread. Thank you so much, Jarrett. Like, super lifesaver. There were so many things to fix, you know, and I'm a professional writer, right? But apparently I don't know how to use commas. Like, I literally had to take out 300 commas from this book. It's like totally insane. My point is, don't let knowing how to do something stop you or even slow you down from making the cool thing that you want to make. You know, it probably won't be perfect, but you actually made the thing and learned a ton in the process of making it, so the next one becomes easier and will turn out even better. Did any of that make sense? All of that actually leads nicely into Dragontown and the Darkness Below. This year I ran my first big Kickstarter campaign to fund this hardcover collection and a special edition box set filled with a bunch of components to help run the adventure at the table. And if I'm being really honest with myself, I spent a lot of time last year and a good chunk of the first part of this year putting off launching this Kickstarter. I had a pretty clear idea of what I wanted this adventure to look like, but it felt really, really intimidating jumping from making 12 and 16 page zines to a 200-page hardcover book. I really had to spend some serious time breaking down each and every task that it was going to take to make this book and box set become real. And I also really needed to shift my attitude to not let all these unknown parts of running a Kickstarter and publishing a book stop me from making progress. But there was one more piece that really, really helped. So at Gen Con this year, I was able to talk with a bunch of amazing peers and just be able to ask a few questions about how all this Kickstarter stuff worked, how the marketing worked and the margins and the production stuff. Getting some answers just really got me excited to make this book and this box set happen. Sometimes it just takes a few positive and encouraging voices to get the ball rolling, to give you just that extra little bit of confidence. I hope these videos that I make can be that, and I think my Patreon Discord is definitely a a great place for that too. There's lots of rad folks in there sharing their work and encouraging and helping other people get their projects going too. I still feel like I'm kind of in the middle of this Kickstarter project. The crowdfunding campaign has wrapped up, but I'm still finalizing all the production files, and then later I'm gonna have to figure out all of the shipping logistics, like what happens when a bunch of pallets of books show up at my house. But I'm actually really looking forward to learning and tackling that stuff next year. It's going to be a fun experiment and set me up for whatever the next Kickstarter project is going to be. Now, making zines and books is obviously the biggest part of this hobby, this tabletop role-playing game hobby for me, but also playing is super important and meaningful. This year I played Lord of the Rings 5e, Cypher, Mothership, Pathfinder 2e, Into the Odd, Weird Heroes of Public Access. There's probably a few more in there that I'm not remembering. I played a decent amount, but I still feel like I could have played way more. I want to play more regularly and just have more fun playing games. Like, I love trying out new games and also learning about what kind of player I am. Like, I'd love to get better at role playing instead of always just trying to figure out the best way to tackle an obstacle. Now that I'm saying that out loud, I'm thinking maybe some real life stuff is definitely bleeding into my game time here. This year, I only ran my own games. I only ran Goons and Ghosts and Starborg. So next year, I want to run a whole bunch more. Definitely going to be running more Starborg. I want to get an ongoing game of that going. I also want to run some Shadow Dark and some Perils and Princesses. That stuff will probably show up in the monthly Patreon zines at some point, and probably some of the other games that I got cooking too. You know, I just am filled with so many ideas of fun stuff to make. I want to make a solo game, like a Mad Max style game called Road to Nowhere. I have an idea for an Escape from a Dinosaur Island kind of game, a teenager treasure hunt game, a 90s vampire game. I have an idea for the smallest tabletop role-playing game ever. That's going to be a fun video. I want to do more drawing guides. I have so many adventure ideas that I want to make. Who knows what of all of this stuff is actually going to get made, especially in the limited time of next year. It's just fun to dream up this stuff and tackle whatever has my interest in the moment. I hope you can look back at what you've put together, what games you've run, what stuff you've written and created, and kind of reflect on it and think about all the cool stuff you're going to get to make next year. I hope you found this video helpful and not too self-indulgent. I'd love to hear about all the cool stuff you've made this year down in the comments. If you'd like to support this channel, check out my Patreon. You can also pre-order Dragontown and The Darkness Below. The links are down in the description. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for the wonderful year, and here's to next year. See ya.